The game Tower of Trials was losing its popularity due to its extreme difficulty. Jin Hyuk was the first person to successfully conquer the game. However, one day, Tower of Trials became a reality, and human lives were threatened. Only Jin Hyuk had the ability to prevent this catastrophe, but he had no intention of saving the world for free. He was determined to reap all the riches, followers, and fame of an S-grade hero. But did his new abilities drain away his humanity, or did he gain those powers because he was becoming a monster? Trash game refers to a game that simply isn't fun, or is unbalanced, or has subpar administration or absurd difficulty levels. The virtual reality game Tower of Trials is in this category. When the game was released, Korean gamers, whose hobby was to conquer the game before the developers even expected them to, got on the grind to conquer the game. But once 3 years had gone by, people just stopped playing the game because they started realizing that it was completely unbeatable. This game was not intended for fun, rather it was almost like torture for those who played it. However, there were still pros who continued to play this impossibly difficult game, including Jin Hyuk. Luckily, he became the first person to have cleared the Tower of Trials after 11 years devoted to it. Then the game system announced that there would be a reboot to update this version, but Jin Hyuk decided to quit the game because the salary of $500 a month as a streamer wasn't stable enough, and he was already 27 years old. So he planned to post a notice that he was quitting the job, but suddenly the Tower of Trials became real, and everyone was notified that they had to clear the next floor within 90 days or humanity would perish. Before we continue, take a moment to answer the question of the day: what's the best skill from a manhwa? Comment down below for a chance to be shouted out. Now back to the recap. The news was bombastic, but our lead quickly made up his mind. He rushed out to items, and on his way out, he felt a strange excitement filling his heart. Jin Hyuk made his way to an underground mall where, in the game, there was an event station. There he saw a bunch of people already waiting and immediately knew that these people had also played the game. All of those people were fully on guard as the item was extremely limited in quantity. Then, a nicely dressed man approached Jin Hyuk. He was the CEO of the streamer agency that Jin Hyuk was signed on to. Knowing that Jin Hyuk had spent a great deal of time on the game, the man offered him a collaboration to gain more of the item. But Jin Hyuk, who worked under the slavery-like contract of the man's company, immediately knew his ill intentions, so he just punched the guy in the face. Suddenly, from the ground, a mangrove grew tall and lush. It immediately fruited, and these were the magic fruits that gave strength, agility, health, and magic stats. The other players immediately fought for the fruits, but Jin Hyuk stood calmly on the side. Most people didn't even know about the fruit. Those who played the game a few times focused on getting the fruit, but Jin Hyuk enjoyed the more sadistic and perverted process that followed. He thought that eating the mangrove fruit would increase his agility and power, but it turned out that the fruit was deadly. Anyone who ate it would die. Jin Hyuk planned to work with Lee Jong-soo to distract the tree and make it easier to approach. However, Jong-soo betrayed him and refused to attack the tree with Jin Hyuk after they had agreed to do it together. What a jerk. Jin Hyuk knew that the tree would attack whoever stood farthest away, and secretly laughed about the fact that Jong-soo was the one attacked by the tree. Jin Hyuk then used his exceptional memory of the tree's attack patterns to take advantage and access the core of the mangrove. Finally, the core of the mangrove was revealed, exactly as Jin Hyuk had experienced in the game. However, this was just a mob event that did not provide any experience. At best, it was only giving a spot in the Hall of Fame. Jin Hyuk was attacked by the tree from many directions, but he had nothing to fear because he had repeated this process many times before. When Jin Hyuk was close to winning from the tree, a flock of butterflies flew out. They were the sleep butterflies that spread sleeping powder, so Jin Hyuk had to fight while holding his breath. Finally, he defeated the mangrove. Jin Hyuk finally got his hand on the tree orb, the truly precious item that he came for. This item was no less than a hack for players, as it gave stat points 4 times higher than that of fruits. Jin Hyuk ate the orb and checked his status interface. As expected, he achieved 12 stat points and was no doubt the strongest level 1. Later on, when the clip of Jin Hyuk defeating the mangrove was uploaded with his face censored, the forum exploded. Everyone was stunned by his combat skills. Jin Hyuk also received tons of offers from companies with sky-high salaries. Just yesterday, Jin Hyuk was hardly getting by, but now he knew that his knowledge and experience were invaluable. Ignoring the appealing offers, Jin Hyuk planned his next move, to collect the replicas of the holy items at the National Museum of Korea. That night, entering the museum and having expected that other top players had already made it there, Jin Hyuk was fully on guard. People came to the National Museum of Korea for the Great Map of the Eastland, the map now imbued with magical energy and containing information about the Tower of Trials. It shows where the mazes and ruins are and explains which monsters and items are found inside them. While everyone was fighting to get the map, a strong man walked up and ordered everyone to stand still, threatening to kill them if they moved. He was confident because he had an awakened, unique ability. Before anyone could find out what his ability was, an old man claiming to be a kind and peaceful person approached him. The young man arrogantly threatened to break the old man's neck like a chicken, but his mouth brought him misfortune because the old man had magic fire type and could turn the young man into coal with just one finger. The old man collaborated with a girl who seemed beautiful but had a dark and sinister power. She had a miniature black dog and threatened anyone who moved would immediately become enemies and be killed by her monster dog. The monster immediately grew larger after being released and frightened everyone, causing them to retreat and give up on the map. However, Jin-hook walked boldly in without fear and picked up a historical document, which really irritated the girl. Anubis attacked him, and to the girl's surprise, Jin-hook easily deflected the spear with bare hands. The girl lost her confidence and snotty attitude. She hastily took out her other Anubis statues, to which Jin-hook expressed that he was impressed, though it was clear he meant it sarcastically. If you can't tell, he knew well that the gap between him and the girl was way too large. Jin-hook smiled confidently, and the girl was enraged by his disrespectful attitude. She commanded the Anubis to attack him, and Jin-hook threw an ancient painting out and inserted his mana into it, activating the Pinewood Tiger. The tiger easily ate up the Anubis Jin-hook's new way of using artifacts, and his powerful magic was threatening to the girl. She kneeled due to the overwhelming fear, but Jin-hook won the fight. He came over to the girl and asked her to hand him something. The girl pretended that she didn't know what he was talking about, but Jin-hook simply said it out loud. He wanted the mask of Tutankhamun. The girl refused, saying that the mask is useless in Korea, but with the threat of the tiger, she gave in and handed Jin-hook the artifact. He left the place, aiming for the strongest skills in the game. After leaving his tiger behind to guard the others against following him, Jin-hook went upstairs and met the old man. They saw a one-star barrier that was resistant to physical and magical attacks. However, there was a way to destroy it, but there was a condition. The old man had to use his flame magic constantly to weaken the barrier until they went inside and came back out with all the necessary relics. Jin-hook was weak and couldn't hold the magic for too long, so, even though the old man might not believe him, it was the best option for that moment. Jin-hook promised to give the old man the map in return for something else, which made the old man trust him. When he entered, he found a cabinet with a broken sword inside, indicating that someone had been there before and was the one who put up the barrier. However, Jin-hook didn't care about the sword. He was looking for the chain coins from the Joseon era to combine them with two other relics to create the most powerful weapon in the Tower of Trials, the Eye of Truth. This artifact allowed him to copy and store the many abilities that exist in this world, as well as using those skills to create even stronger ones. Meanwhile, the old man was struggling to hold the barrier for a longer period of time. Jin-hook wanted to copy the ability of the old man, and the copy condition was to reveal the old man's true feelings to piss off the guy and copy his ability. Jin-hook revealed to him that his spending up his flame all the while was useless. Then Jin-hook even burned the map. This was also to get rid of the possibility that someone might gain the map and any advantages over him. Jin-hook wanted to secure his leading position. The man was furious and swore out loud. Jin-hook took the chance and immediately copied his fire elemental skills. The man wanted to attack Jin-hook, but he was astounded to see Jin-hook using his exact power with much stronger intensity. The man instead just gave up before leaving. Jin-hook ordered the man and the girl to level up while waiting for him to contact them. Heading home, Jin-hook was extremely pleased with all his gains. He was planning on gaining the next skills when his stomach started growling, so Jin-hook decided to drop by a local shop for gokba. In the shop, people were discussing the passing away of many people at the national museums of many countries last night through the news. Jong-hyuk learned that the government had established something called the Awaken Association in response to the Tower of Trials incident. Nationwide recruitment was open for those with powers, and the association's president also announced special treatment for Jin-hyuk if he were to join them. But Jin-hyuk had no intention of joining others, no matter what. In this world, the value of a single well-trained individual was worth more than that of 100 average ones. The Tower of Trials had opened, and as a celebration for entering the tower, each player was provided with 100 coins, the currency used within the tower. Players could upload videos showcasing their accomplishments and earn 100 coins for every 10,000 views. However, cheating or manipulating view counts would result in punishment. The more famous a player became, the more coins they could earn. Everyone was in a hurry to clear the tower as quickly as possible and be ahead of the others. However, for Jin-hyuk, sharing information with others would be a greater loss than earning coins. Jin-hyuk came to Labyrinthos, which was amazingly designed by Daedalus in Crete, famous for its confusing layout and various traps to discourage people from entering. A group of people had spied on Jin-hyuk and saw him open the labyrinth without a key, proving that this floor was not that difficult. Some were afraid that Jin-hyuk would not share the items with them, so they plotted to let him have his eternal rest inside the labyrinth. The girl quickly offered Jin-hyuk to collaborate with the team to share the risks. Friendly as the girl seemed, Jin-hyuk sensed something unjust. He activated his Eye of Truth and saw her stats. Jin-hyuk was extremely interested in the girl's commune skills, which made one appear friendly to any stranger. This would be a great help when he had to deal with that winged girl, so he agreed to work with them. Friendly, they introduced themselves to each other. The leading girl grabbed Jin-hyuk's arm and activated her commune skills, asking Jin-hyuk which floor he had climbed to. Jin-hyuk flinched, but knowing that it was her skills, he pushed her away. He warned the group that the labyrinth changes at fixed points in time, and when they were still confused, the labyrinth quaked forcefully. It was extremely dangerous for everyone else, but it was nothing for Jin-hyuk. Learning that they couldn't escape the labyrinth, they were all desperate, blaming Jin-hyuk for not warning them earlier. Jin-hyuk couldn't care less. He bluntly said that he didn't ask them to follow him, and the consequences they faced would be of their own ill intentions. One of the boys was about to attack Jin-hyuk when a gigantic monster appeared and finished him. When the group froze in fear, Jin-hyuk attacked the monster vigorously and quickly gained the hidden stat. Jin-hyuk had gained a hidden stat called Gap, which narrowed the gap in battles with stronger opponents but widened when fighting weaker ones. He'd already endured the Minotaur's attack thousands of times in the past, and his body had memorized all of the attack patterns. Jin-hyuk was a veteran, so no matter how powerful the attack was, it was useless if it didn't hit him. During his fight with the Minotaur, Jin-hyuk deliberately allowed himself to be injured because he believed that a few drops of blood were well worth the increase in hidden stats. He intentionally let himself get hit to improve his strength. Meanwhile, the rest of the group was hiding and trying to find a way out. They didn't want to die, but Jin-hyuk noticed their intentions and interrogated them about why they weren't fighting. Suddenly, the maze changed, and they moved to another scene. The group began to argue and wanted to escape the labyrinth because it was dangerous. Jin-hyuk offered to help them find the exit, but they had to stay in the maze for at least 30 days, and nothing was free. If they wanted to go with him to the exit, they had to pay him coins. The forum exploded with a piece of news about the Hall of Fame. A player successfully made the world's first 10+ refinement to their item, and of course that person was our main lead, Jin-hyuk, in the maze. After ripping off the two followers, Jin-hyuk opened the artifact exchange interface and got himself a deck of tarot cards, an ancient bronze key, a wooden wagon wheel piece, and some lottery refinement scrolls. These are the kinds of items that other players wouldn't even take a look at, but Jin-hyuk knew how to make the most of even the trashiest items. He quickly combined 3 items to make an S-level Wheel of Fortune. With the help of the lucky wheel, he maxed out his luck. He took out the lottery scrolls and used them on his dagger, easily refining it with his full-on look. Fast forward to 10 days later, the two followers had already turned hopeless from the hell they were currently in. But Jin-hyuk was taking everything in stride, desperate to know that it would take their guild 3 weeks to rescue them. The two wanted to take the chance when Jin-hyuk was sleeping to unalive him. The young man had planned to assassinate Jim, but Hana stopped him because even though Jin-hyuk was sleeping, his reaction speed was incredible, and he would likely wake up the moment he was attacked and counterattack. Hana had intended to use the stinger of a giant zucchini wasp, a lethal poison that could kill 100 trolls with a single drop, to finish him off while they were eating. Hana secretly put poison in the food, but Jin-hyuk knew what she was up to. When the two of them turned their heads, he switched the food with the young man's. As expected, he ate the poisoned food and passed away. Furthermore, Jin-hyuk discovered that they were secretly broadcasting. He reported it to the system, and the viewers were immediately punished by being kicked out of the broadcasting room and banned from watching any videos for a month. Hana's punishment was even more severe. When she received the news, the Minotaur appeared. Hana believed that Jin-hyuk would always protect her as he had done before, but this was not the case. The 240-hour collaboration had ended, and Jin Hyuk had learned her communication skills and no longer needed her. Nevertheless, Jin Hyuk continued to attack the Minotaur until it brought out its final skills, the level 10 Berserk state, threatening to shred Jin Hyuk apart. It attacked him, but Jin Hyuk had been improving as well. He fended off its attack and proactively counter-attacked it. Noticing that Jin Hyuk was smiling in such a dangerous fight, the girl was speechless and frightened. During the fight, Jin Hyuk had already gotten his gap stat increased to 57. When the Labyrinthos was confident that it could beat Jin Hyuk in one last punch, the explosion ended, and it was suspended for 24 hours. Jin Hyuk's gap stat is now enough for him to narrow down 19 levels compared to his opponents. In the next 20 days, Jin Hyuk continued farming on the Labyrinthos and reached his target of 100 gap stats before leaving. Jin Hyuk spared Park Hannah's life for the Graham Ring, the most precious artifact available on the first floor, and an evil labor contract. Jin Hyuk fused two of his skills to make the Stigma of the Soul, a skill that bound the Stigma target to fully obey the caster, and used it on Park Hannah. With that, Park Hannah became the first intern at Jin Hyuk's company. Hannah and Jin Hyuk became the first people to clear the labyrinth. Their accomplishment video will be broadcast in the Hall of Fame tomorrow. As a reward, each player will receive 5,000 coins, but Jin Hyuk took Hannah's coins because she was his intern and had to obey his orders. Jin Hyuk is now the player with the most coins on the server. He ordered Hannah to return and bring him Bram's ring within 3 days. Jin Hyuk decided to find his old game friends. They met at a cafe and introduced themselves again. The girl was named Yu Yunhua, and the man was named Lee Taimin. Jin Hyuk felt comfortable with them because they were very sociable and would be good friends with each other. The two told Jin Hyuk what had happened in the past month, including the Awakening Association's testing to classify players. Those who did not meet the requirements failed and could not go to the second floor, but those with above F score could pass and would be flooded with offers to join guilds. Today, Jin Hyuk and Hannah went to be tested, and they met Hannah's older brother Park Hajin to copy his skills. Jin Hyuk had to maximize the hostility between the two. After easily knocking down the enraged guild member, Jin Hyuk met Kim Kitai, the guild's head whose level is over 20. He challenged Kim on the fact that his subordinate was providing Korean ginseng to China, and mentioned the remedy to ginseng's side effects to prevent the public's eyes. Kim established a blackout barrier around him and Jin Hyuk. Jin Hyuk's companions were very worried and rushed to help, but Jin Hyuk was all calm inside. Jin Hyuk offered the information about the last ingredient in exchange for access to Kim's guild's 10 dungeons. Kim, although very skeptical, accepted the offer. When he wanted to attack Jin Hyuk to threaten him a bit, Jin Hyuk destroyed his barrier and got out easily. That Jin Hyuk easily got out shocked everyone, and he was able to max the hostility between him and the guild members, thus successfully copying his skill. Shallow breathing, he moved on to do the prowess test. To the officer's shock, Jin Hyuk walked confidently to the middle grade test stone and cut it in half. He threatened the officer not to post his result until 1 week later. Coming out, he received the Gram Ring from Park Hannah after lying to his two friends about his ranking. He headed home while planning on taking the dungeon test on the first floor's only ruin, a domain that no one has ever cleared. Jin Hyuk went to the ruins of the mountain, but as an F-rank player he couldn't enter alone and had to register as a porter. When Jin Hyuk checked out other players' stats, a friendly porter gave him a quick nudge, reminding him to hurry up and hand out the water and ice to their team. Jin Hyuk noticed that these players had the Zion Guild symbol on their armor, so he decided to use his good communication skills to try and make friends with them. Among them was the youngest daughter of a fancy European family, Laurentia Teresa. She was super famous in Europe and was a level 29 player. To learn some cool new skills, Jin Hyuk had to save Teresa from a dangerous spot. Now let's talk about Chunhwa's gang. They accidentally triggered the ruined security system by smacking the Guardian sentry, and guess what? It woke up a sleeping bomb. When that bomb woke up, it called in some Guardians to guard the ruins. They only had 10 minutes left, and there were two choices: run away and leave the non-fighters behind, or keep fighting with no backup. Chunhwa decided to keep going because they had sent Teresa with them, and they couldn't start over again. But awakening those Guardians was super serious and scary, and it had Chunhwa's crew worried. The leader quickly got his team ready to take on the ruins guards to make sure they didn't lose too many folks. He told one of his team members to give up on the solo players. Those solo players were in big trouble with the knights, but Teresa came to the rescue. She rushed over and saved them. Meanwhile, Jin Hyuk had just saved a nice uncle's life, and he was battling another knight. But he didn't want to defeat it and level up, so he held back. When Teresa got there, she saw Jin Hyuk with a knife near the uncle and thought he was trying to hurt him. So she got the man out of there and pointed her sword at Jin-hyuk. They started fighting because Teresa didn't hear Jin-hyuk's explanation. He had no choice but to defend himself. Finally, when he managed to capture her, the uncle explained the misunderstanding. After that, they had a friendly chat. Jin-hyuk offered to go with Teresa into the ruins, since they both wanted something from the same place. Teresa agreed, but this meant she had to leave her guild temporarily. The guild said she could go, but she had to be back before their main quest began. Jin-hyuk also volunteered to join her, all in the name of love. As they entered Peter's oath, both Teresa and Jin-hyuk got an indirect message from the boss. Teresa was sure that Boss Master had noticed their presence, but Jin-hyuk seemed overly confident, thinking the boss acknowledged only him because he knew all about the ruin. With a puzzled expression, Teresa turned to Jin-hyuk and asked, "What should we do?" Jin-hyuk had a plan. "Let's try drawing out the undead monsters by showing off your divine powers," he suggested. Acting on his idea, Teresa unleashed the undead creatures, much to their surprise. But their newfound challenge was far from over. Out of nowhere, the elite lich of the hidden ruins emerged, launching a devastating move called Black Lightning. It threatened to obliterate everything, even their Class 3 barrier and Level 5 energy shield. Teresa was in grave danger, and Jin-hyuk felt helpless. Staring at the dire situation, Jin-hyuk realized it was nothing like the game he'd played before. But just as the elite lich was about to claim victory, a mysterious young man intervened, swiftly dispatching the lich. He declared, "It's been a while." Confused, Jin-hyuk didn't recognize the man until he drew his sword. The sword awakened Jin-hyuk's memory. It was Chun, the strongest swordsman from the game. Chun had always wanted a rematch, and it seemed he found it today. Before their battle began, Jin-hyuk picked up a mysterious pill from a nearby coffin. As Chun activated his skills, Jin-hyuk found himself at a disadvantage. This triggered a special condition in Jin-hyuk's fusion skills, the ability to copy skills from his opponent. The battle was on. Jin-hyuk wielded his dagger as a sword and attacked Chun, who countered with his ace card, the sword energy. Jin-hyuk risked breaking his dagger, but the pill he found came to his rescue. He fused it with his sword skills, leveling the playing field and breaking Chun's confidence. Still, Chun demanded that Jin-hyuk take his life. Jin-hyuk, assessing Chun's strength, calmly replied, "I look forward to our next match," and left. As Chun departed, he revealed something astonishing. Jin-hyuk's gamer name was Poop Fart. Their encounter wasn't over yet. An iron golem carrying a high-ranking vampire named Velas appeared. Velas had an offer for Jin-hyuk and Teresa: go with him quietly or become his appetizer while the others were dragged along. Meanwhile, a message from the system reached Teresa, inviting her to rescue the assault team in the innermost room of the Cloister of the Fallen. If she accepted, all monsters and traps leading up to the last room would be halted. Teresa felt torn and worried. She wanted to rescue her team, but she knew she couldn't defeat Alice alone, and even with the support of her assault team, the outcome might not change. Teresa was facing a big problem. Alice, the powerful vampire, was causing all sorts of trouble, but there was one person who could help her, Jin-hyuk. Even though he was really arrogant, Teresa knew he was the only one who could defeat Alice, so she made a deal with him. She promised to give him all the coins she had if he helped her defeat Alice. Together they went to meet Alice, who had called them for a reason. She smelled something sweet like gin, and there they saw Hajin Hill tied up. He was the one who awakened the Guardians, but Jin-hyuk, he didn't seem scared at all. Alice was acting like a psycho, but Jin-hyuk kneeled in front of her and offered something even sweeter than his blood freedom. Before we continue, let's take a moment to shout out Acid Cake 1084, who commented, "Nice vid" on our Isekai'd 101 times video, thanks for commenting. Jin-hyuk said he represented the demonic humanity of the tower and claimed to have reached the temple on the 27th floor. Alice didn't believe him and attacked him, but Teresa defended him. Just when Teresa thought Jin-hyuk had her back, he stabbed her. Alice was amused by the betrayal and challenged him further. He did it again, and Alice was convinced. Then Jin-hyuk explained his plan. He wanted to use the 7-star skill soul transfer to seal Alice's soul in a gram ring and take her out of the picture. He implemented the magic and offered it to Alice. She was skeptical but wanted freedom so badly that she stepped in and agreed to the magic. She warned her subordinate to slay Jin-hyuk if he showed any malicious intent. The magic was completed, and Alice was sealed in the ring. Just when things seemed settled, Teresa revived, much to Jin-hyuk's surprise. Alice realized she had been deceived. Meanwhile, Teresa went to rescue her assaulting force, including the captain of the Balhead Guild. She thanked Jin-hyuk for helping her, even though dying at the hands of an ally was painful. She knew he had a reason for what he did. The system announced that Jin-hyuk had saved Teresa from death, fulfilling the condition to copy her skills and receiving the blessing of the star. Shunhwa stood up to compete for the many items and relics they cleared from the first floor of the ruins. He promised to compensate Jinhyuk appropriately, but when he touched the fragment of Merlin's stat, he was cursed and lost all his hair, including his eyebrows and eyelashes. Many members of the Awakening Association were gathered outside the ruins, eager to find out who had cleared them. They expected it to be Chunhwa or Teresa, but to their surprise, it was a masked player named Jin Jinhyuk. After his successful return, Jin Jinhyuk decided to use his ring to talk with Alice. However, Alice was quite arrogant and dismissive. Jin Jinhyuk, determined to change Alice's attitude, decided to give her a free roller coaster ride that was so thrilling and enjoyable that it almost made her sick. After this adventure, he finally summoned Alice, who was now ready to seek revenge on Jin Jinhyuk. However, she had shrunk in size and lost some of her power, which left her in tears. Despite their initial conflict, Jin Jinhyuk and Alice made a new agreement. Alice would assist Jung Hyuk, and in return he would help her regain her family's leadership position in the Ataraxia family. The next day, Jin Jinhyuk headed to the Black Crow Guild's building to settle scores for what they had done in the ruins. He effortlessly made his way through the lower-ranking members and reached the top floor where Park Ha-jin Hyuk, the guild leader, was being scolded severely for his foolishness. Park Ha-jin tried to redeem himself by challenging Jin Jinhyuk, but once again he failed. Jin Jinhyuk then confronted the guild leader and easily disarmed him. He demanded to know about his redemption, but the guildmaster threatened him, mentioning that he had 50 ranking players in his guild who would seek revenge if harm befell him. Jin Jinhyuk paid no heed to the threat and attacked the guildmaster, tossing him out of the door in an instant. He spared Park Ha-jin Hyuk's life, acknowledging that his little sister had done much for him until now. Jin Jinhyuk noticed Kim, the guildmaster's secretary, who had a good academic background at Stanford, majoring in computer science and accounting. He instructed Kim to run for guildmaster, but realized that Kim was afraid of opposition from guild members. As a result, he appointed Alice to manage the guild. Jin Jinhyuk urgently summoned the A-rankers in the guild to the main building. When they arrived, they found the former guildmaster alive on top of a car. The world was now buzzing with discussions about the mysterious masked player, and only 2 people knew his true identity, Teresa and the guildmaster's secretary. With this revelation, Jin Hyuk asserted that he could finally be free from concerns about monopolizing the world. After getting his certificate from the Awakened Association, Kung Jin Hyuk came out to see his friends waiting outside. He introduced Alice and Kim Hee-wong to Yenhua and Tai-min. The 3 of them were new, but Alice quickly got along. She's a bit of a tsundere, if you know what I mean. After quarrelling about Alice's fuss yesterday, Jin Hyuk and Alice headed to their hunt. They arrived at Moonlight Lake, the most beautiful scenery in the Tower of Trials, yet deserted as people tried to conquer the tower to save humanity. Jin Hyuk stepped into the water, stopping at a carp statue that had a groove in it. This groove was noticed a while ago, but no one had succeeded in opening it. Little did they know that the key to opening the groove was not any factual item, but instead moonlight. Jin Hyuk placed his hand on the statue and adjusted it for the moonlight to enter, opening the door leading underground. Even Alice was surprised to have found such a place. Suddenly, Jin Hyuk wondered if Alice and the other beings inside the tower knew that they were NPCs of a game, so he asked. But a glitch happened, preventing them from talking. A bunch of insects rolled out from all sides and stopped Jin Hyuk's train of thought. What will happen next? Find out next time by staying tuned for our future recaps. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more great recaps.